Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's CalFX here and I'm back with another one. So in today's video I will do a quick breakdown on a trade that I caught on EUR-USD, and I caught this trade. I'm recording this on a Saturday, so I caught this trade yesterday, Friday, June 30. So that was the last day of the month of June. So I mean, what a month, right? I mean, this has been an incredible month for me personally. So I'm just going to quickly do a breakdown on this trade. This actually was a buy, and we have a different, some sort of entry type that I usually don't take, but I decided to take this one because, it's part of the rules as well. So before we get into the video, before we actually get into the trade itself, let's just recapture the entry types that go on the smart money concepts, right? So let's get right into it. So just to recapture entry types, as we know, when it comes to smart money concepts, right, usually what we do is we wait for price to come to our higher time frame point of interest, and then that's when we drop down to lower time frames. So usually what happens is that the entry types most don't have, we usually don't have one entry type that happens all the time. Sometimes we have different variations, but it's always the same thing, right? So what happens here, if you just look at this at the left right here, we just have this strong push to the upside. So we can consider this to be a M15, M30 or 1 hour point of interest break of structure to the upside, and it leaves an order block. So usually what we do is we wait for price to come to our higher time frame POI, and that's when we later on drop down to lower time frames to look for our confirmations. So usually the first entry type that we have is when we have the liquidation of the previous low, and then price gives us a break of structure. So it just violates the previous order flow. So if the order flow was bearish all the way into our bullish point of interest, we want to wait for the first break. So that first break usually is the sign of bullish intention. That's not a confirmation that the price has shifted from bearish to bullish, because price sometimes can give a change of character and then carry on the move to the downside. So this, some people will say, oh, change of character sometimes gives false confirmations. But it's very important to bear in mind that sometimes the chalk works, right? It's all probabilities, right? But usually the reality is that the first break of structure is never a confirmation of the shift. So you can trade the first break of structure, which is the change of character, and then you can wait for the second break or even the third break of structure for those people who are trying to be more conservative, right? So what happens is that the first entry type that we have is when price actually liquidates the previous low and gives us the break of structure. Usually when it comes to change of character, I like to see this one right here, because this is more of a high probability. The reason for that is because that lets me know that, okay, the institution sold to take out the previous low, and then they bought immediately to the upside, so they need to come back to mitigate that previous position that was in drawdown, right, the sell. So they need to come close that position at a little bit of profit or break even, and then that's when we push to the upside. So we usually, when we have a liquidation of the previous low and then a break of structure, which is chalk down and then chalk up, that's a good confirmation. That's a good chalk right here. Now, the second one is this right here at the right. Now, if you look at the structure here, if you tell me the swing structure, you will say that, okay, the swing structure is bearish, right? Because we actually looking at this as a low, and then we have this high, and then price gave us this low. So what happened is that up to this point, the swing structure is still bearish. But sometimes what happens is that we have price actually coming, failing to close, failing to take out the previous low. Now, this is what we call lower low reluctancy. That's when price actually is failing to give us that lower low. So if this high failed to do its job, which was to grab the low to maintain the bearish order flow, this high becomes weak. So that's when we have the first break, which is, we can say, the change of character. And then we have the mitigation. Then the second, we have the second, then we can enter at the second break. So usually some people actually like to enter from the first break, which is the change of character. Because usually with two breaks of structures, entry types or three, sometimes you can miss a lot of trades, right? So some people may want to take the trade from the change of character right here, but what happens is that in this scenario here, the confirmation, this is a very low probability scenario because you don't have that structure shift. We don't have at least that intention of bullish order flow, right? Because the swing structure is still bearish. So when you have the first break, such as change of character, I would recommend you to look for the second break or even the third break, to wait for price to come, take out this previous high, and then come back all the way to this one. But bear in mind that sometimes you're going to miss a lot of trades waiting for all that confirmation. Okay, so this is the first. So I want you guys to just take note of this one. We have the first entry type where we have the liquidation of the previous low, and then immediately price takes out the previous high. That's the very valid change of character here. And then we have this one where price fails to take out the previous low, but then gives us the break, the first break of structure, mitigates, then the second break. So this one right here is a high probability, especially when you don't have the liquidation of the previous low. All right, so that's just to recapture entry types before we actually get into the trade. So now let's just do a chart walkthrough and look at the trade that I took. So here we are on EUR-USD. So before we actually get straight into the trade, let's just quickly do a breakdown from the weekly time frame. So on EUR-USD, price actually tapped this yearly bullish order block. If you look at the trade breakdowns that I did a couple months ago, I think you were able to see the yearly bullish order block, right? So price actually came, if we look right here from the weekly, we actually have this supply zone that was sitting up here. And that's where price actually came. If you look at right here, what happened is that on the weekly we had the break of structure and price actually closed above the previous high. Let me just zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see. So here we go. So we have price actually had broken above this previous high with a body, right? So this was the solidification of the bullish order flow still intact. So price then came, mitigated that, and then gave us the second break. But what happened? Price actually failed to close above. We didn't have a body closure right here. So this is even on the weekly. So if I drop down, for example, to the daily time frame, we can see that, okay, price actually closed above the previous high. But on the weekly, it failed to close above. So that was a sign that maybe the bullish sentiment at this particular moment was losing strength. And that's when we have this strong pullback. Now, looking from the daily, I looked at this pullback as price actually coming into this demand zone, and then possibly we have the continuation to the upside to take out the daily previous high, and then we continue the bullish order flow. But what happens is that we have this supply zone. So this is the reaction. I was just monitoring the reaction. So we had this reaction at this daily. So usually when price comes to my daily, I like to drop down to 4-hour time frame to look for the change of character. So I proceeded to 4-hour. So on the 4-hour, what happened is that price, once it reacted to this daily supply, it gave us quickly this strong change of character to the downside. And beware that I still have this demand zone right here, right, that was left unmitigated with this huge push to the upside. So there was a lot of imbalances that needed to be corrected before maybe price continues the move to the upside. So we had this change of character, the 4-hour. So some people will say, okay, why did I consider this a point of interest? Some people say this would have been the fair value gap point of interest. But if you drop down to lower time frame, for example, 2 hours, you will see, oh, let me just go to 1 hour. You will see that we had a buy to sell wick right here, which is a point of interest on the lower time frame, such as M30. So that's why I actually marked this. So this actually was the reaction after that 4-hour change of character. Price came to this point of interest and then dropped again. So basically, if we look at the 2-hour, we had the 2 break of structure to the downside here. But price came to this demand zone right here. So once what I said, okay, we have this second break of structure and we have a very clean order block sitting above right here. So most likely, I would love to see price reacting from this demand and then push all the way to this supply, and then maybe we can look for sales all the way down. So what happened is that yesterday price actually came into this point of interest. So this is the 1 hour order block. So if I just quickly go back to 1 hour, you guys will be able to see that it was this black candle right here. So this was the black candle that I saw, this one right here. That was the order block. So usually when price comes to my 1 hour order block, I can drop down to 3 minutes time frame. Some people may like to wait for 15 minutes, but sometimes price may not give you a 15-minute change of character, and then, you know, you have to drop down to 3 minutes. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes price will just push all the way to the upside. So luckily, when I came into the point of interest, once price tapped my 1 hour, I dropped down to 3 minutes time frame. So right here, just quickly, let me just quickly push right here. So if we look at what's going on right here, I will ask you guys, what is the structure up to this point? Once price came to this, tapped the point of interest, what was the structure like? Was it bullish or bearish? I'm pretty sure you guys could see that the structure was still bearish because we had this low and then we had this high, and then price made the move all the way down to this low. So up to this point, the structure was still bearish right here. So how did I take the buy right here? So that was the second entry type that I just explained shortly. Is that what happened is that we had this point of interest, and then price came. So it came right here, and we had this low. If price failed to give us to take out this previous low, we didn't have that chalk down and then to have the chalk up. Price actually failed to take out the low, gave us the break, right? So we had the first entry type right here. So for me, this was a little bit low probability. So I waited for the second break right here. So that's when I took the trade right here. So this is just a great entry type for you guys to take. But as I said, one thing that you could have waited for is to see price actually come all the way up to this one and take the extreme, this swing structure, this previous high, and then you could have taken the buy from the order block that was responsible for breaking the swing structure high, right? So what I did is price came into my point of interest. So what happened is that, okay, we had this low, then price made this high. So I was expecting to see price actually taking out this previous low so I can have that chalk down and then chalk up, but price failed to do that. So I consider this to be a low reluctancy. And then price broke structure right here. So we have this very clean order block. You could have taken this one, though it would have been low probability. So I waited for the second break, this one right here. So then we have this point of interest right here. So because I still understood that, okay, the structure was still bearish, for me, this usually is not an entry type that I'm really comfortable with. I'd really like to see price taking out a previous low and then give me the chalk up, right? So this right here was the first break of structure that I considered, and then this was the second break. So my point of interest was sitting right here, right? So you could have set your limit order at the first change of character, point of interest, or at the second one, or as I said, you could have waited for price to take out this swing structure high right here. So once price closes with the body, right here. So maybe your order block would have been this black candle, although, I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable to take a buy right here. Maybe if price came to this one right here, that's what I would be comfortable to buy. So my entry was actually here. I actually entered the trade on the seconds time frame. I actually used the double confirmation. I used the 15 seconds and also 5 seconds. So my entry was at 0.8424 right here, and I had a 1 pip stop loss. So usually when you're on the 5 seconds, 1 pip stop loss is huge, right? So I'm pretty sure some of you guys are familiar with the seconds entry. So I had a 1 pip stop loss on this one. So let me just, okay, right. So my target, I actually took 80% at 1 to 7. It was actually this previous high. So of course I didn't make 70% return. So if I go back, for example, to, let me just quickly go to 1 hour, right here. Yes. So my target was this one right here, this supply zone, because I knew that there was going to be some reaction in this area. So my entry was all the way up here to 1 to 7 risk to reward ratio. And I mean, guys, it was just a beautiful trade. Price just kept on pushing all the way up, right, to that supply. So I actually liquidated the position at 1 to 7. That's when I set the TP at 1 to 70, and we ended the month in the right foot. So right here on the right, you guys have the MT4 image, right? So you guys can see that I take these trades, right? I walk the talk, right? So you guys can see right there the MT5. So this was just a beautiful trade and a beautiful end of the month of June. So I hope you guys were able to understand the entry types or what I was trying to convey with this video, which was, you know, just a recapture of entry types. And you know, if you guys, I mean, like the video, if you guys enjoyed the video, just like the video, show some love in the comments, right? And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're new. If you're willing to join my mentorship to take these trades with me, my contact is on the description box below, and I will see you guys on the next one.